What's up? What's up? What's up, guys? Welcome. Happy Juneteenth, right? That's what today is?
Juneteenth, yes, sir.
Awesome. Welcome back to our listeners and our viewers to Insensitive Culture's live reaction and discussion episode of Loki Season 1, Episode 2. And what a freaking episode that was. I thought
That was great.
Obviously, we've got to warn you that if you have yet to watch episode 2, you probably pause right now, watch it, and come back to us because we're going to be spoiling the whole thing. So definitely return, and if you are watching live, we highly encourage comments during the show. You might end up on screen. All right. On that note, Lady Loki. Oh my God, that shit was crazy.
Lady Loki. Okay.
Right into it.
All right. So
she was hot. So that we got that going for us. I don't know if that's weird or not, but Lady Loki was definitely attractive, right? I mean,
yeah,
she was fine.
Absolutely.
Can you guys hear me at all?
Yeah.
All right, just making sure. No, she's definitely hot. One of the things that we were going to jump into is, and I don't know if you want to discuss that today, but there was a big slip up when it came to the credits for Lady Loki. We've been talking about it. We made that, we had that discussion last week too, and we're all excited for it, right? So, and then Twitter came around and people found that in the American credits, her name was the variant. We know that. We know she is a variant. But they quickly found that I want to say it was in one of the Latin American credits. They listed her as Sylvie. So
yeah,
with them listing her as Sylvie, for anyone who knows the comic books, Sylvie is another name for the Enchantress. So it's one of the things that has been going around saying, is she Lady Loki? Is she the Enchantress? Or are they doing a full-on Marvel mashup where these people are the same person? They just took elements from different characters and placed them into this one overarching character. So, but my question to you, since we're talking about her, right, and we went straight for the jugular on this.
That's why I put the spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Fair.
My question is, did Loki escape the TVA, or is he still very much on board but didn't want to let her escape?
Well, so one of the things that I've been thinking about with this is so this is actually the second Enchantress in the comics. Sylvie Lushton is actually a young Avenger version of Enchantress who was given her powers by Loki.
Makes sense. We all know where this is all leading.
So I think it very much lines up with the rest of the Young Avenger nods that we've gotten so far in the TV series. The hints that we might get, obviously we know we're getting Kate Bishop in the Hawkeye series. We're probably getting Stature, who is Ant-Man's daughter.
Also
most likely.
I can see that. Phase 4.
Yeah. What was that? What?
It was the new Falcon too. The Falcon Winter Soldier scene. Joaquin Torres, something like that.
Yes. So with that being said, like, it definitely lines up with all the nods, and even if they don't do a Young Avengers thing, they're clearly like pushing some sort of agenda or like just making people's minds go that way. So if it is Sylvie Lushton, I'm guessing this is a version of the Enchantress that a variant Loki has gone and created. And it's probably not the same variant that we're currently running around with. but whatever other variant who's been able to, utilize Enchantress to go and now essentially create the multiverse, from what we can tell, or is the multiverse already a very prevalent thing that the timekeepers are keeping secret from everybody, and saying like, no, there's a prime timeline or whatever, the sacred timeline. But C20, the guard that was being held by her from the first episode, or was it the beginning of the second episode? I can't remember.
Yeah, beginning of the second episode it was.
That guard who was like, she was like whispering about, it's all real or something like that. She was definitely like in some sort of shell shock. So it makes me wonder, it's like, all right, maybe the multiverse does already actually exist. And this is just creating more of it to screw with the timekeepers or something like that. Anyway, that's my Sylvie Lushton is Lady Loki Enchantress.
What they explained was that whenever she takes over their mind like that, we're not sure where exactly they go, but they all have like a vision of sorts, because when she took over, who was it? Is it B-15, Hunter B-15? The main, she came back and she was like looking as if she went somewhere else and wasn't exactly sure what, like what she was seeing. And it was
like this.
So yeah, it's definitely a possibility that they're going somewhere else, Ooh, we just lost Johnny.
I love there it. We go.
So yeah, and it's definitely something going on with the multiverse, but also that brings us to another amazing question. With them blowing up the timeline, the main timeline, what does that mean for everything else? Which, by the way, makes complete sense for why where it's all leading up to the multiverse of madness. Because it looks like, and I don't know, we still have 4 more episodes, but it looks like the timeline is pretty much screwed. How are they going to reset that?
Yeah, because those variant timelines were spreading at an alarmingly fast rate compared to everything else we've seen so far. The TVA
was a lot of them,
and there was a lot of them. Yeah, so it says red line imminent. It's gonna, obviously go over the edge, and these. What did they say in the first episode? Is that once they cross that threshold, then there's no going back. There's no resetting it. So it's it is its own branch. So yeah, it was interesting. They definitely they put the pedal to the metal on it. They gave us some more more questions on like, is this really some sort of good reformed version of Loki, or is he actually just as interested in overthrowing the timekeepers or being mischievous as he's always been, or whatever. So I thought this was a great second episode.
Mm-hmm.
Back to the last question, the one where at the end, like how he bailed through the portal. Mobius was running down the hall, the aisle there yelling for him. He seemed conflicted because he took a second. He didn't just sort of follow her right in and he was gone. Like if he just wanted to bail, I feel like at any point there, I mean, he used the magic right when they walked in to dry himself off. Like he had some power. He could have bailed at any time there. So like I felt like it's easy to say, oh, that's just Loki being Loki. Fucked him over, peaced out. But like I feel like him and Mobius, like they're, I don't want to say friends, but like there's definitely like a connection there that I feel like they have with each other. Yeah. So I feel like Loki is still, he might be serving his own purposes because at the end of the day he's still Loki, but like he'll be back obviously, and I think he'll be back with some sort of lead or something to help them. Like I feel like he's still trying to get their back, or at least I'm hoping he is, because like I'm really falling in love with the character of Loki. over these first 2 episodes. Just such a far cry from, seeing him in the movies and being like, who's this asshole?
Yeah. And I've actually the past few days I've put on all 3 Thors in the background of my working days, and I'm like picking up little things on Loki's character development over those films that I'm kind of like, all right, like they definitely knew exactly what they were doing. I think back when even Ragnarok was filmed, they knew the way they were going to end that Loki's story, but knew that it wasn't the end of Loki's story. I don't know. And one of the things that I know, Thor: The Dark World is not one of the prime examples of perfect MCU film, but the death of Frigga is really like a big point of that Loki's story and the overarching Loki's story. And when he's told, and he's in the prison there, that Frigga's dead, and he just kind of like does his like little like flashes his magic and destroys the entire room, and then Thor comes and checks on him later, and he's all disheveled, but he's created the illusion that he's fine and everything's fine. Loki's got a lot of emotion. Like he has this feeling of superiority over people, but he does care about the people around him in a way that I think that they're tapping into with the relationship with him and Mobius.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And just to backtrack on that, I actually enjoyed Thor 2: The Dark World.
I did too.
Well, initially, I remember when it first came out, I wasn't a huge fan, never really went back to it, saw it, whatever. But after Endgame and seeing the impact on what happened in that movie in the overall story, going back to it, you enjoy it much more. I think that's what happened, because when I remember seeing it again recently when I during COVID, when I watched all of the movies, and I was like, this movie is actually not bad at all. It's actually pretty good. But also let me and before we get off of Lady Loki and stuff, I also wanted to pose the question: do you think that she is the bad person they're portraying her to be right now? I don't think she's the villain.
No,
it's too obvious. If she were, like, there's got to be some other layers there.
I think I think she's a variant, just like Loki is. I think she's just a variant that was scooped by a more nefarious version of Loki and is the Enchantress, like we were saying, but somebody that was molded to, have a more. She's being manipulated. Just kind of like how the
so you don't think she's Loki?
Yeah. I don't think she's Loki.
You don't think she is a Loki?
No, I think she is Enchantress. I think that's the whole game here. I think there is going to be another Loki, probably, or somebody that's pulling the strings behind what the variant is doing.
So why is she rocking Loki's outfit?
Well, I was going to talk about that in a little bit, because what I went looking into it a little bit, Lady Loki was in the comic books was actually just someone that Loki put himself into. So It wasn't necessarily that she was that she was born Loki and just this universe's or this universe's Loki, but he threw himself into that. So it could still be explained in the fact that this is, it's again, it's a character that's encompassing both characters at once, because it's not the first time that they would do something like that. And also I know we all learned our lesson, right, from WandaVision. So I'm not putting anything on this. However, I will throw out there that my favorite thought right now is that Kang the Conqueror is going to be he's going to be the main guy in this, and they are going to bring him into the MCU in this series, not in what is it, Quantumania? Like we know he signed on for that. But, and Jonathan Majors, that's his name, right? Jonathan Majors, who's playing him.
Yeah.
And when they asked him, he's being, he looks like a classy guy. He's not spilling the beans. So, so very straight face. He was like, I don't know what you're talking about. So, but that's one of my favorites.
By the way, or is he an American actor? I don't know where he's from.
I'm honestly
seen a character, not like an interview.
Yeah, I'm honestly not sure, but I can look that up real quick while we continue to discuss.
I got him. Let's see. Yale School of Drama with an MFA in acting. Recipient of the National Society of Arts and Letters, National Drama. That'd be easy. Still didn't even say where he's from. Come on, IMDb, you're screwing with me. I do have one off-topic question. Johnny, where the fuck are you going?
I have to go to the pharmacy.
Okay. I just all of a sudden you bounced off the stream and then you popped back up and then you're walking around the house like I always do when I'm on calls and stuff, and then all of a sudden you're in a car. Like, what's going on?
Jonathan Majors from California.
Yeah, he's from California. He's an American.
Yeah, and he was born in 89, which means he's younger than me, which makes me feel like I'm just failing at life.
Than all of us.
We're not gonna go there. But no. So all right. So those are the main questions that I had. Now let's get onto the playful conversation of Mobius, because I think Dave, you threw a question in there, like what was the relationship between, or the past relationship between Mobius and the judge. I always forget her name.
Ravonna.
Yeah, Ravonna. There we go.
Yeah, I don't know. They're just seeing them interact. It feels like they were smashing at some point, and then that stopped. And now there's like this weird, I don't know, like a tension there. Like definitely some sort of.
There's definitely something
that they had. She's very lenient. She's got a soft spot for him.
I don't know if I'm coming through. I think my signal.
What's up, Johnny? Yeah, no, Johnny, I got you. Go ahead.
I'm wondering. And I saw this posed, I think, on Twitter or on YouTube. Could Mobius be like a clone, or
a variant, like a Loki
variant of some sort? Analyst that she keeps referring to? They keep going back and forth. Like he's kind of jealous, like you're saying. Like there's kind of like some tension there. Seems like he's jealous about another analyst, but like we've never actually seen another analyst.
Right. So he cut out. So we'll just continue that here. So yeah, I'm glad he brought that up, because in the comic books, Mobius is actually clones. There's multiple Mobius clones. They all look exactly the same. And they were wondering that when they brought the character in on the first episode, they're like, but isn't he a clone? Which makes a whole lot of sense that, he's jealous of this other, person or whatever, this other analyst. And it's just another version of him. He was born there at the TVA. He's never left. It makes sense because most people that come in are variants. The assumption is that all of these agents that are working for them were variants at some point that possibly caused a variance in the timeline, and they wiped their memory and now they're a servant for TVA. These are the things that are being discussed in this. So and it makes sense that if they are a version of the comic book, Moby obviously is, but it would have to be clones. And those clones would all just live there. He might be, the analysts probably come back and forth. We may have been dealing with a different version of them every single time. I don't know. We won't know that until we get through these next 4 episodes.
Is that why is that why Casey didn't know what a fish was? Like in the first episode, he was like, they mentioned a fish. He's like, a what? Like he had no idea, what the fuck they were even talking about when he said fish. And it was just little. It was stupid. But I mean, now it makes sense. Like you said, if they're getting their shit wiped or if they're born there and they just don't see fish at the TVA, like, I don't know. I just thought that was weird.
Well,
Really
yeah,
weird.
he feels like he was born there, and if either his memory was wiped or he was born there, we don't know. Either way, he's not going to remember what that is, and also he's not an agent that's traveling, in and out of the TVA. He's just someone sitting behind a desk, So yeah, he doesn't know what a fish is for either reason. But I feel like after this episode, with the TVA not necessarily being dismantled, because we don't see that just yet, but a lot of things are going to be exposed, and I'm hoping it's true that we're just going to get banger after banger when it comes to these episodes, because these first 2 episodes were just filled with information that we were asking all along. Like there's not like there's so much room for progress in these stories.
Well, so one of the interesting things from the comics is that, and like Mobius is always credited as being human, but the TVA, like you kind of mentioned, like he saying he was born there, like that the TVA was everyone humanoid, but not technically human. But what if Mobius is a variant, and he was a variant that proved useful and became a TVA agent by, whatever means, and now he's kind of doing the same thing with Loki, kind of trying to prove out it's like, I'm not the only one. You took a chance on me. Let me, utilize this guy. He's got the ability to help us catch, one of his own variants.
Mobius dropped his own glorious purpose line in that last episode too. And as soon as I heard that, I thought, is it possible? Like, could he be a variant? But then shit doesn't work in the TA. And I talked myself out of that theory, but then hearing you talk about it, I was like, oh, maybe it could be. Cause like, I definitely thought that.
One of the things that I heard on that was that Loki and Mobius are going kind of through the same thing. Loki's realization that like he didn't have any real glorious purpose when he was shown his entire timeline is what is now happening to Mobius as well. And by the end of it, they'll both kind of realize it's like, no, like, we're pawns in some sort of other game, but that doesn't mean we can't, go make our own futures, do our own thing, whatever, however you want to call it. But
I'm hoping he gets that jet ski. Like,
me too.
I want him.
Got to get a jet ski by the end of this.
I'm hoping that they show him, on a lake somewhere at Johnny's lake on Johnny's jet ski, just
Johnny's jet ski.
and just ride off into the sunset, and it would be the best ending if just at the end of it he stops, looks at the sunset from the middle of the water, and goes, "Wow,
crazy."
Yeah.
Wow. We need a wow.
No spoilers.
All I ever want for Owen Wilson in anything is happiness. I don't know if you guys remember that he attempted suicide back like 12, 13 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
And there was he was in Darjeeling Limited, that I can't remember the director's name. Wes Anderson film. Great movie, and like it was kind of like his story. I don't know. Owen Wilson's a great guy, great actor.
Yeah,
got that goofy nose and the wow. We all really like him, and I'd like to see him get his jet ski moment.
Yeah, that would be great. And not only that, but it seems like we're gonna get more of him in the MCU, which I would absolutely love if they just expanded on that character and we get to see his evolution the same way we kind of saw Coulson's evolution over the years. You know, like even though very early on he supposedly died, and then he lived on in his own in his own series. That's for whatever reason is still true to the MCU.
Yeah.
Yeah, that series. I'm glad that they went away from that form of television writing. So, but no, yeah, it's we got so much. I love it. Jonathan Majors. Hopefully that reigns true, but I'm not holding my breath on that. Even though every time we've seen it, I think we talked about it last week. Every time we see the timekeepers, there were the two. If you look in the, there's another thing that you pointed out. If you look at the two timekeepers on the ends, where is it Ravonna? I don't know why.
Yeah, you're really struggling with that.
Trouble remembering their name, but in Ravonna's office, they have the two timekeepers.
Renslayer also.
Yeah,
Yep.
last name.
They're both holding like something in their hands, and then the one in the center has his hands out almost in like a Jesus fashion. So, and that's always the one that looks like Jonathan Majors' character, Kang the Conqueror. So, and we pointed that out very early on, that when they zoomed in on the end in the credits, like very big, it looks like Jonathan Majors' face. So, I everything is pointing towards Kang the Conqueror being one of the timekeepers. And not only that, but if Kang the Conqueror comes out, we know that all of that points towards Fantastic Four, which we know it's coming, but wasn't Kang the Conqueror Reed? Oh, is it
Nathaniel Richards? It's Nathaniel Richards from an alternate timeline.
Yep.
So, and he's a ruler of multiverse. He's a ruler of universes. He conquers universes with his supreme intellect, essentially. And that's one of the other things that people are pointing to is we didn't talk about it last time. I don't remember. Maybe we did, but the city from the quantum realm that like everyone's theorized that was in the background. If you look at it, like it's kind of in like its own little bubble in that one scene when they're in there saving what's her face, and that's kind of like the room that they walked out into when Mobius was showing Loki around. Was everything was it kind of looked like it was in this bubble. Yeah, and that's one of the things people are saying is that the TVA might actually be operating out of the quantum realm. Because as we know, time flows differently in the quantum realm. Scott thought he was in there for 30 minutes, but he was in there for 5 years. Why can I not remember the original Wasp's name? Pfeiffer in that movie? What's her name? Janet. Janet was in there for however long and said, time moves differently and, she gained powers and whatnot. There was a deleted scene where she actually apparently, I never saw this until there was a deleted scene where she actually spoke to some sort of entity that approached her and what's his name as they were about to leave, and she was just like, we're just passing through, and it was like, all right, be on your way. So I'm operating on that too, and again, Marvel's done this stuff forever. I don't think Kang is going to be the ultimate big bad like people are theorizing by this point. I don't think he's going to be Thanos level.
No, probably not.
He never was. He's human. He's just a human that time travels.
For which part you mean?
For just in general, I think Kang will be. Yeah, okay. I think Kang will be a significant villain at some point, but I don't think he's going to be. There's a lot of people that are like, oh, they're introducing the next big bad, they're introducing the next Thanos.
I see.
Kang will be. Kang was never that level. Thanos has always been that level. The next big bad's got to be a Doom or Red Skull's always been a big one, even though they kind of already threw him away, but they could bring him back.
They watched his I remember they made him so big for Captain America, and we saw nothing until
his daughter though. His daughter was a huge multi a series level event. There was an event called Fear Itself that was basically Sin, the daughter of the Red Skull, revived Odin's brother, who was basically like the antithesis of Odin, obviously. He takes over pretty much everything in the universe, and then the heroes have to basically every main hero gets like Asgardian powers and goes to Nidavellir, and like Iron Man gets like an Asgardian Iron Man suit. Spider-Man gets like an Asgardian thing. Anyway, sorry, I geek out about a big event like every episode we talk. Sorry.
Yeah, and right now we don't know what the big events are, so it's nice to speculate at times, as long as we don't, put all of our eggs in that one basket like everyone did with WandaVision. But that's going to be hard to recreate, because we came from a time where we didn't have any kind of content for a long time, so we had extremely high hopes for WandaVision, and it was such an amazing series, and especially after letting it marinate for a while. But we were definitely immediately just like, what the hell, man? Like, I don't. But anyway, let's we'll see what it all comes down to. You're probably right on that. I don't think Kang the Conqueror is going to be as bad as in the long run. He's probably not going to be as big of a villain, but he's definitely going to be a villain at some point, and that very well could end up being in Loki, where we get our first experience from that, and then from there, the character arc just builds and develops, and just the same exact way that we got our Loki. Loki was a villain, and that character did exactly that. And now look at us; we're rooting for him on his own series, and we love the guy. So,
I got a question that we kind of touched on a little bit, but we didn't get deep enough. When we were talking about C20, and when she was saying, it's real over and over, etc. But also at the end, she says that she told him, or she told the variant, where the timekeepers are. And my question is, how the fuck does she know where the timekeepers are? Because not even Mobius knows where the timekeepers are. He's like, I've never met them.
Yeah.
How does she know?
I was gonna have a very insensitive culture answer to that, but we're live, so I'll I'll save that answer. But no, and that's one of the things I think that we're excited to find out, because she's definitely a little bit more tied in than anyone, and they're keeping them hidden for a reason. They don't want them to know that, the timekeepers, the illusion that has been set, because we've seen that before in the MCU too, where they really downplay, they make this grandiose character into something that everyone was just like, oh wait, what? So I'm thinking that's what's going to happen is they can't allow everyone to see who the timekeepers actually are, because if they saw that, everything would just crumble. So in the event, like, let's say the timekeepers are just Kang the Conqueror, and he's a human who is just a very, very smart human. It may not be as it may not be as grandiose of a thing than the story that has been keeping everyone in check and in line. So we're experiencing a very big Wizard of Oz-esque kind of operation, where only maybe one person has access to the timekeepers, and
Ravonna.
Ravonna.
Yeah. There's also the theory that the timekeepers aren't even real, which
right.
I'm kind of like,
are they like an AI, kind of like in
the timekeepers? The timekeepers was the little clock the whole time. It's actually
Miss Minutes. Maybe the timekeepers is just Miss Minutes.
I was like, she did say she was like half real, half not, right?
Yeah, and he's swatting at her. He's
yeah.
jumping around, jumps into the screen like yo.
I read something that she because they released a character poster for her after the second episode, that people were like, oh my gosh, like maybe this is a bigger deal character than we realized, and that she's actually going to have like her own story arc in some way. And it's like, okay, I'm here for it. I'll get a Miss Minutes backstory. I don't care.
Maybe they'll throw away a whole episode. We'll get a Miss Minutes episode.
Just on Miss Minutes.
Right.
Just to chop
50
up
minutes on Miss Minutes.
I'm there for it. Yeah, I'm about it.
Is Miss Minutes original to the comic book or to the show, or was she in the original any original Timekeeper storyline?
I just learned actually that Casey is not original to the Loki series, which I thought was interesting. Miss Minutes, I think, is unique to the series.
Yeah,
but Casey was the alien conductor of the Cross Time Express. That crazy dude with all the stones in the cart. That's sitting at the desk and takes the Tesseract. I didn't realize this, but there is a Casey that's part of the Fantastic Four series where they get awesome. Apprehended by the TVA. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Nice. That is cool.
Yeah. I like these little goofy nods that they do. It probably means nothing because that character sounds like they were in one comic ever, but it's fun.
Let's go back to the Titan and Ego. Sacred timeline.
I like that.
And that was just something that I can't take credit for that, but yeah, it was Reddit. It was a bunch of different places that I saw, and somebody took a screenshot of the different cities when it was scrolling through after the sacred timeline was bombed, and you could see, and there was something else I felt like I saw in there because it was so quick that I really just had to rely on the screenshot. But I mean, Ego could this affect the timelines throughout the Infinity Saga, because you're getting Titan is where Thanos is from, and then you have Guardians of the Galaxy timelines for Ego and Star-Lord, and
so to answer that question, at least to the best of my abilities, is they're blowing up the sacred timeline. So those events, all of those events took place on the sacred timeline. That timeline is now gone, so every single one is completely different. And when they let off the bombs, you're right. I actually saw a video. One of the people that we follow, when the episodes release, and they went through every single place where they placed a bomb and it went off, because as they're running out, as it's happening, you're seeing the little ticker going off, and it's showing everywhere that a bomb went off. And it was Titan, Ego, it was in a lot of Asgard, a lot of very important places, as well as just regular places on Earth. And I don't know how to answer that, because if they made that explode, it's creating a timeline where each one of those places essentially doesn't exist, right?
Well, so one of the things that I'm trying to figure out is, like, from the time a variation happens, or is it because, so when all those bombs were dropped and went through the same doorways that the TVA travels through, did she send those bombs through to different times on the time stream? Because they were in 2050,
right?
And the timeline, obviously they showed us it was going crazy, so she had to have been sending those through to different points on the time stream to screw with it. If those bombs are meant to
show different dates and times,
if those, so that's the thing I didn't catch. I didn't catch the different dates and times that were on that, but if the bombs are meant to erase, which I think they confirmed, it feels like they confirmed that they are essentially erasing a
Disintegrating.
timeline.
They used the word disintegrate was what Loki said.
Yeah. So Mobius is definitely conflicted about using those, which is I get.
It doesn't blow up like the Earth in that timeline. It just blows up something in a certain radius so that whatever
was
causing a variance, it's eliminated. So let's say a bomb went off on Titan. If it's in the center of the square, maybe that's when Thanos was a teenager or something. So then Thanos doesn't exist on in the timeline. And same thing with Ego, but Ego is a celestial
planet,
whole planet. I don't think it would affect anything that he has going on other than maybe an offspring that maybe he had at that point in time that could have caused something else down the road or something like that, because he has many offspring over Lord knows how long he was alive. So the bombs went off in very specific key points in the timeline, I believe.
And I again wonder if maybe this is a lead into What If, because What If is, I believe, the next series we get.
Correct. Yep. So
maybe these are like, okay, like What If isn't as much a what if, it's what happened in these different timelines.
Yep.
Because I don't think it doesn't look like they're going to be able to very easily go back and erase all of these. Like if we look at it, it looks pretty rough.
It gave them.
I find it kind of interesting that they dropped these time resetter bombs in not just different cities around the planet, around Earth, but also in other realms and other planets and other things called out in the comic books. And I don't know if this is just because, I mean, it is what it is, but Mobius is as we have seen, has only been tracking this Loki variant, this dangerous Loki variant on Earth. Isn't that kind of weird that they don't appear anywhere else, but they only end up in different times on the Earth scale of the Scape timeline and never show up like on Titan or on Kree or any other of these planets that have already been exposed to us in the MCU?
Well, I think the reason for that is because they when this variant comes to and it brought it to their attention, it's because they specifically attacked agents. So they could only be putting that focus on on Earth or whatever for a very specific reason. And then when they travel off to the off-world to drop that bomb, because all they really have to do to create a variant is to create that variant to get them there, attack them, take it, and then they're moving freely wherever they want. So then they'll go off to this planet, just set that. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're creating a variance in order to do that, as long as they're treading carefully. I think that Lady Loki, she obviously knows what's going on and knows how to avoid a variance and create a variance. So hopefully that answers that question. But also, he was just hiding. It was such an amazing thing too for him to discover that she was actually hiding in these
apocalypses.
These apocalypse events, because it doesn't matter what she does. It's not going to create a variance, but that specifically right there just tells you that her knowledge of how to lure them in and how to move around what they believe to be true and how to get around them. She's extremely knowledgeable on that. That's
and if those are apocalypse events that that she was hiding in, and she dropped those bombs throughout the timeline, and like you said, they're just erasing a radius of beings wherever they are. Those are more apocalypses that create those variances. So are these more places for her to hide and bounce around in? Are we gonna kind of see Loki and the variant traipsing around through some of these variances that they've now created over the next episode or two? Probably, I would say the next episode is mainly going to be Loki and the variant.
Yep.
Like they're them, and maybe even we get the variant's backstory maybe to a point, or what the variant currently believes their backstory is. But it'll be it'll be kind of cool to see how they use that whole apocalypse hiding idea with whatever she's done in these timelines to create them. Now, and this could also be, you know, by the end of this, if the TVA is found to, you know, be a bunch of bullshit and the timekeepers are bullshit and all that stuff, like, you know, do we kind of by the end of this go, you know what, let these timelines go. They don't actually really matter. Like, because nobody is really, you know, in charge of this whole thing. Just let them go. So, and then if that's the case, then we've got all of these alternate heroes from alternate universes, and maybe we get my secret wars.
I don't see them just like letting them go, because I think that's the whole purpose of Multiverse of Madness, right? Is Doctor Strange has to put all of this back into order.
Yeah,
and this immediately tells me that we're not going to see them correct this in this series. Not at all.
Not fully.
I mean, we might see them correct this specific one, but it might. You know, who the fuck knows? There's only 4 more episodes, so
yeah.
If it's up to Doctor Strange to like sort of fix these timelines and like restore the sacred timeline, would that make him sort of like a timekeeper? Isn't that like how the timekeepers formed? Because they came in and fixed a whole bunch of fucked up shit.
The timekeepers are determining how the main timeline goes. I
think Multiverse of Madness is going to be not just like him fixing it. I think Multiverse of Madness is going to be, this is what happened in WandaVision. This is what happened in Loki. This is what happened in Spider-Man, because we're pretty sure that that's going to play with multiverse stuff. And it's going to just be like, so many things have happened in the MCU that has caused branch timelines and multiverses and blah, 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 that by this point it's just like, it's run rampant and he has to do something. There's definitely going to be a Wanda spin on it, but I wouldn't be surprised if there are all of these events are what create Multiverse of Madness's story.
Right. So, and it's, even then, it's still going to leak into Ant-Man, which is set for a 2023 release in February. So, which is, it sounds like it's it's so far away. However, we're already halfway through 2021. So
I could be dead by then, though.
I mean, we can all be dead by
then. Same.
Let's not get Dave started.
Don't get me out. I won't sleep for another week, Steve.
It's Dave and me though. Like Dave and I are both going to be like, "Yo, man."
I hope we make it, dog. I hope we make it through this Marvel phase. It's not looking good.
How would I know? Now, so I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. I think this is where we started everything with the events of WandaVision, the events starting now with Loki. I love that it's going back into the multiverse stuff, because we kind of strayed away from that with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And now we're really getting into the multiverse stuff, which I find extremely interesting. I can't wait for these next 4 episodes. My thought on the next episode, Steve, I think you hit it right on the head. We're gonna get some sort of story on Lady Loki. We'll know who she is, and my best guess is that we're gonna go backwards, see a little bit of her backstory, and then the following episode we jump into an adventure or two with her and Loki and their interaction together. Because for whatever reason, that's how it's making sense to me right now, is if we jump into who is she, where does she come from, what is her overall goal, we can then jump into what they're doing in real time, because I think we're in for a treat these next couple episodes. I could be completely wrong though. Obviously, who am I? I'm an idiot. So
I think we get both of that in the next episode. I don't think
it's going to be both.
I don't think they're going to spend 50 minutes just on her backstory. But I think they can spend 25, going back and forth. I think it'll be jumping back and forth between her backstory and what her and Loki are doing right now.
Yeah.
It's also, the next episode, by the end of it, will be halfway through. And at that point, I still feel like I have no idea what's happening. Like I know what's happening, but I have no idea. None of us have really any clue what the overarching idea of the story is. I feel like Falcon and Winter Soldier, it's like you kind of knew by the end of it, all right, they're going to have to take these guys down. Buck's going to be Cap, Falcon's going to be Cap, whatever.
Yep.
WandaVision, you're like, yeah, like Vision's going to have to go by the end of this. Wanda's going to lose her mind. This one's like, Loki's got to jump through a bunch of different wormholes and find out what's going on. They can go thousands of different directions with it. So,
yeah. Either way,
just
very exciting.
A final thought, guys. Did you the store, the Rocks Cart in Alabama before the hurricane hit? Was that like a semi call out to Idiocracy? Do you remember like the Costco's in the future got so fucking huge, and that's pretty much what they said was like based on the times, like it just became this like massive superstore, and I don't know. I thought it was like a little Idiocracy throwback, and that store was wild.
Walk, I texted you about that one.
Yeah, look at that.
Roxxon.
Rocks Cart.
So Roxxon, the parent company of Roxcart, has been mentioned throughout pretty much every Marvel property we've seen. It's been in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has had references to Roxxon. The Peggy Carter in the Agent Carter series met the CEO of Roxxon or president of Roxxon at one point in one episode. There's been Roxxon gas stations in different movies. I think maybe there's one in like Iron Man 3 or something. Like Roxxon it's like Exxon. It's a global conglomerate parent company that has all of these different branches that they're Amazon of MCU. They are taking over. Yeah, they are slowly taking over a little bit of everything there in everyone's lives by obviously 2050. But they've been building it up for a while. But Roxxon is a long time comic book conglomerate type company that is meant to make you think of like the Exxon Mobils of the world and stuff. Yeah, but I don't know. I think that there could also be some sort of tie in with okay, so here's the article. They appear in all three Iron Mans. They appear in the one shot A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to Thor's Hammer. They appear in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Agent Carter, Daredevil, Iron Fist, Runaways, Cloak and Dagger, and Hellstrom. So there's definitely...
I've never noticed that. I've never seen that. That doesn't even sound familiar at all.
In the background. Those are little things in the background that we just missed. But so I think it's really just same thing, just like a little callback to the corporation that they created. That's just a continuation, and by 2050 they just became a whole set. But I think that's all it really is.
Speaking about though, by 2050 though, like, is it just me or like they were only looking at 4 years that Kablooey existed, and there was like a shit ton of disasters, and not only that, like the category hurricane was a category 8, like. There's no such thing as a category 8. And the climate change disaster of 2040, like basically we're fucked in the sacred timeline.
So the swallows disappeared and
the swallows
ecosystem.
There's so much shit that happens.
So we're thank God we don't live in this timeline because we
could. We don't know. Me and Steve might. That's why there's impending doom.
Exactly. It's looming over us.
I haven't seen any superheroes on in our universes yet. So hopefully we have more time than that. But I love how most people were just like, yeah, it's a hurricane sale. Like category 8 doesn't even exist now. It's just like, yeah, I'm looking through the hurricane sales. Like it's just like, whatever. It's just another day now. We're used to this. Life sucks. But do you guys have anything else to add before we end this?
No. Nope.
No, I'm good.
No.
All right, guys.
For the next one.
Yeah, we can't wait until the next one. So just remember, guys, we're going to try to keep this thing going every single Saturday. So if you enjoyed this conversation, if you're listening to us after, or you're tuning into the video next Saturday, tune in again around noon o'clock. That's great.
Noon o'clock.
Noon.
I got it.
And we'll go live again. But if you miss it, we're going to be posting it everywhere anyway. So just remember, guys, that this is all for Insensitive Culture, the podcast, where we'll probably still talk about this a little bit more at the end of the episode. So rate, review, subscribe if you don't already, and have your friends and family rate, review, subscribe if you feel like they would enjoy the content of our podcast. All right. So
Johnny, have a great rest of your Uber shift. Drive safe.
Oh man, guys, it was a pleasure again meeting up with you all. Esteban, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us on this and help us.
I enjoy it. I always enjoy it.
Make some sense out of this, because who are we? We are 3 idiots that love movies, and we just end up talking about these things, whether people agree, don't agree, or whether we know what the hell we're talking about or not. So
I'm just some nerd that loves world building, so I find this stuff fascinating.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you for tuning in. We love you guys. Peace.
Peace.
Later.